Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 13 of the Veilcast. It's June 27th, 2015, and this week is part one, all about stealth. Stealth, one of the most controversial topics available for Camelot Unchained. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, stuff that we've learned from... public. We can't say anything NDA breaking, but we're going to speculate. We're going to talk about what we know so far. Here, as always, joining me, Alistair. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing okay. It's
doing
cold,
good?
and it's a very nice climate over here.
It's doing cold. You're on the opposite half of... it's getting warmer for me and colder for you, so
Exactly.
That's pretty awesome. Velik, how you doing?
I'm good, except that it is so freaking hot.
And it's so hot.
Oh my god!
It's so hot. You're gonna have to buy a new car, right? That's what
Yeah, that's every week. I've been like, I need a couple more months to buy a car. No, it's got to happen now.
It's gotta happen now. And last but certainly not least, our friend from over the pond, Chris. How's it going over there?
Pretty good. Actually, pretty hot too here.
Yeah.
And quite humid, so it's been really hard to sleep at days lately.
Yeah. Y'all need to get some air conditioning or something.
Yeah, man, it's getting
it's not
sweat
that-
on my
it's
screen here.
It's actually not that common in France, the AC. So
Really?
Man,
yep,
I
I only have a fan so far to sleep
got mine
with.
cranked to like 67 right now.
Right? Well, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to talk about stealth, which I think for a lot of people, especially being a PvP game, wouldn't you guys agree stealth could be a huge factor, right? I mean,
It is.
right. I mean, it definitely is. Before, we got a couple clips to show from when Marc Jacobs talked about his crazy idea, how he might want stealth to work in the game. Before we jump into that, though, let's go around the horn here. What are your experiences of stealth? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Just in general, how do you feel about stealth, especially in a PvP RVR type of game? What do you guys think?
Normally, my experiences with stealth are on the other side. You know, like the guy who's the victim of the stealth class.
Being stealthed, right?
Being stealthed and wrecked. Well, I mean, I was introduced to stealth on my first MMO, which was World of Warcraft vanilla days, and I was just annoyed that rogues could pop out of nowhere and one-shot me. But
Right.
Stealth is not to fault over that. This is a class mechanic problem. Stealth doesn't have to be like that. So obviously today I know more. I was never attracted particularly to stealth classes. The only stealth class that I played was the operative healer on Star Wars. But I think the mechanic it can be problematic, but it's a mechanic that also adds a certain feeling of mystery and danger to an open world PvP game.
Right.
Because you're always on your toes. Because maybe you're not seeing anybody, but that doesn't mean you're not in danger. So you should watch out. You shouldn't just go AFK to grab a coffee and leave your character standing in the middle of the plains. That kind of stuff. I think it's an important element. So stealth adds that, which is cool, but it also has the potential to be broken, to be something that people abuse, to be and it is also a little bit of that. It's too extreme to a sense. It's like you either see the person or you don't see them at all. There's no middle ground, and that's a problem too. Because that kind of stuff's completely hard to balance, right?
Right. You talked about like getting one shot. Like my thought process is you give them the ability to be invisible. Why do they also need this super powerful ability? Right? Like going invisible in and of itself is cool enough. Why do they need this super strong?
Yeah, the idea back in the day was, in Vanilla WoW, is that the rogue should be this class that if he's on stealth and he gets to jump on you, then he's very dangerous. But if he doesn't, then he's kind of meh. That's what they wanted to emphasize. So they gave him an ability he can use from stealth that could one-shot people, or almost, if they were geared and stuff. But that is an old concept. Camelot Unchained can certainly move on from that. Games have already moved on from that, but it's something that happened in the past. So it gave a lot of people a lot of traumas, I think, from the gaming community in general about stealth. And it's not necessarily a stealth problem. right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to explore.
Velik, I know you had pages of notes, copious notes you took. In general, not specific to Camelot Unchained, but just your opinion. How do you feel about stealth? You for it, against it?
I am for stealth, and this is coming as a person who normally does not play a stealth class. I've never had a main character. Well, I can't say I've never had a main character because in SWTOR, my main character was a Darkness Spect Sith Assassin. However, he was a tank. I tanked full tank, not DPS, unlike the people that did the nasty hybrid things and completely ruined my class. That's besides the point. Anyway, but normally, in most games, I don't really play stealth classes. I normally play a tank, sometimes a mage. So I'm not usually the most vulnerable person to stealth. You know, they pop out, they stun me, they start stabbing the crap out of me. I'm a tank. I can take quite a few stabs before I die. But I like having stealth in-game. I like the tactical and the strategic elements of it. You know, the ability for someone to sneak behind your defenses, to take out the squishy people, for there to be a healer or a mage that's just standing in the background and no one's watching him, no one's protecting him, and the stealther comes up behind him, de-stealths, slits his throat, he dies, oh well, sucks to be him, and then the stealther probably also dies. There are certain things in stealth I don't like that I think are pretty universal, honestly. I think everyone except the most unreasonable stealth fans hate these things. Stun locks, unstealthing, and then immediately re-stealthing to escape from combat. These are basic things that we know that most people hate. And so they're not going to be in the game.
And a reasonable amount of damage when they pop out of stealth. Like, you know, doing more damage when you pop out of stealth, cool. Like, but if you can take half of somebody's health on one hit, that's just, you know, that person's not even gonna fight. They're like, I lost. You know, how can I recover from this? You know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. But
Chris, you ever play stealthers? Are you a stealther?
I played stealther in EQ, so PvE game. It was fun. It was very useful at the time because you had the corpse runs, as I said, where you had to drag the corpses back to the entrance to be rezzed so they didn't lose their stuff. So it was very useful, but it wasn't that useful in combat. In PvP, my first experience in stealth was in ESO when I made a Nightblade. Stealth wasn't so bad in ESO actually because you could see the person moving. Like I like that in Plant Side 2 as well. When you're stealth, when a sniper is stealth, if he moves, you see it. It's a camo.
You have
it's
that
not
shimmer
actually exactly. It's not invisibility. It's a visual camo. Basically, if he moves, you see the surroundings of the person, so you can actually spot it and kill him before he kills you because he doesn't see that you actually have spotted him. But yeah, I don't like also the huge damage increase when you get out of stealth. And to me, a stealther shouldn't be able to stealth back when he's in combat. Basically, you attack, you're flagged as combat, you cannot re-stealth right away because otherwise it's just, you arrive, you just take half the health of the guy, re-stealth, move around, the guy turns around to find you, you're just right behind his back again, and you re-stab him, and you just two-shot him. I think that the one-shot or two-shot abilities are way over the top for stealthers.
Yeah, it just takes away the gameplay. When it's, you know, I don't see you coming, you're invisible, you do 2 button pushes and the game's over. That takes away, I mean, there's a lot of different options though. You're talking about PS2 where they kind of shimmer. Someone in chat was talking about how some game, like, you can see their footsteps in the ground.
In Archage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different types of systems. I know in Dark Age of Camelot, one thing that I loved was I played a vampire and they had this ability where you could like sense stealthers. So you could like go out and hunt them. And it was a ton of fun in that. What do you guys think is maybe the best system you've seen? Where do you think it works really well where you don't have these problems? Have you played a game where it was really good like that? I mean, I know chat's talking about it. Arcade was pretty good. People had stealth. It was on a long cooldown. You could use it in the middle of combat, but only like once because it was such a long cooldown. Yes. And they had strong abilities, but it wasn't like 50% of your life and you were dead. Like you could still fight.
Also, even when you were stealth, you also still made noise. You walk on the grass. The grass moves. You pass through a bush. the leaves move, you make noise, so you could
Right.
spot stealthers that way in Archage.
Yeah,
Right.
I think indications of stealth are a good thing,
Yeah.
because like I said when you asked us, what we thought on my opening statement, basically, where I said that the extremism of having just you see the person or you don't, right?
Right.
That is hard. That's impossible to balance. So I think if you do like Arcade did, apparently I didn't play Arcade, so I'm just going from what you guys are saying. Um, where you see signs that there's a stealth around you when he's approaching. And in World of Warcraft, all you had was the little sound, right? But that, sometimes you wouldn't even have that. When that happened, you're like, oh, geez, I'm fucked, There was nothing you could do at that point. So, having it's like, oh, look, that bush moved. I think it's a stealth. And, so even if you're not seeing where the person is exactly, you can prepare. You can
You throw
okay,
an,
there's a
you
stealth
throw an
here.
AoE.
Right.
You just throw an AoE on the
You throw
bush.
an AoE, you start trying to,
You put up a defense. You do something.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you stop doing what you're doing, and that's PvP, it's giving people a chance to fight, without removing that feeling of stalking a prey that the stealth has, right?
Right.
Because I think that's something that attracts a lot of stealth players, having that feeling of, I'm here and you don't know, you have no idea, I'm hunting you, I'm stalking you, and that feeling could still be there, but
You still get
given
that.
a fighting chance for the people who are on the other side,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems in, say, WoW style stealth, and which a lot of games copied stealth systems from them as well, is not that they can be stealthy. I have no problem with someone being able to be stealthy. I have no problem with speed. Like, I hate that people go into stealth, they get slowed down. I think they should just move normal speed, maybe a little bit slower, and have abilities to speed them up, whatever. But I don't have a problem with them moving normal speed in stealth either. I don't have a problem with them. I don't even have a problem with them doing lots of damage when they come out of stealth. I mean, I don't think they should just pop out, stab you, you die.
Right.
But I don't have a problem with them having a damage boost. They come out, they start stabbing you. Unless you have a bunch of friends that are going to help you, you're probably screwed if you're squishy. But what I have a problem with that they and several other games have done is they gave a high burst DPS class stuns.
Yeah.
The hell, no other DPS classes get tons of stun moves. Not normally. Normally that's like a no-no. You don't give the high DPS stun classes lots of CC ability.
Right.
And then they're like, what? But these people can go invisible. They can do tons of burst damage. Let's just make them able to stun lock people too. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you already have burst, having stun on top of it is just kind of overkill, right?
I think it all comes down to what we keep hearing over and over is people don't feel like they didn't get a chance to play the game. Right?
Yeah.
Like something happened, I didn't have a chance, it was pointless, I might as well just get up and walk away.
It's frustrating, right? For players, because I mean it's a I win button, right? I press this and you die.
It is.
It is extreme, and it's just like I was talking on chat. People are like, oh, you shouldn't have things like Cloak of Shadows and stuff, like the rogues have, where they get immune to magic for I think 6 or 8 seconds. Mm-hmm. Yes, you shouldn't. Immunities are something that I don't like either. Complete immunity to everything is just kind of retarded. Like the paladin bubble that you have in WoW and other mechanics where you just pop a button and nothing hits you. That's damage reduction.
You don't want to remove the gameplay. We want to keep gameplay.
I don't completely agree with that. I'm okay with a complete immunity that completely also mobilize you. You have to focus. I don't remember which game it was, but I remember an ability that you had to channel. So you were invincible for a certain amount of time, but you couldn't do anything else.
Source or a bubble,
so it was just to encourage your attacker to go attack somebody else, because for the moment he couldn't do anything.
But you still have gameplay. You have an
that
option of countering it or doing
like
something
ice block.
to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a look here. Marc Jacobs, we're going to watch the first part of this video. It's about 3 minutes long. See how he feels about his thoughts, what the developer thinks about stealth, and jump right in here.
Just get one thing clear. I like stealthers. I've played stealthers. Played stealthers in a number of games. So, anyone who thinks that, MJ hates stealthers is so not true. What MJ hates is all the problems that tend to go along with stealthing. And that's something that when we thought about doing this game, and then it became more of a reality, I looked at that and went, boy, is this going to be worth the effort? It's a decision that we did make with Warhammer, of course, and the stealthing system there was very different from the stealthing system in Dark Age. I wanted to find a way to put stealthing in the game. I absolutely want to play one myself. And what it really boils down to is, the various issues that occur with stealthers. For example, a lot of potential stealthers, they want long duration stealth. They want to be able to either sit and wait for the victim or move around in stealth. Obviously, that's something that's really hated by a lot of the victims of stealth, as well as other people. A lot of stealthers hate moving slowly in more modern implementations of stealth. Obviously, we did that in Dark Age as well, but you could get abilities that would allow you to move faster. I hate moving slowly. I do think that that's a mechanic that works in some games, not necessarily the one I wanted to implement here. A lot of the stealthers I've talked to and a lot of the comments I've seen on forums indicate that most stealthers don't want an easy mode. They want the challenge. They want to succeed, because after all, no one really wants to lose. But they don't mind a more challenging stealth. Whereas a lot of the detractors, all they hear is stealth and say easy mode. In Camelot and other games, a lot of stealthers really didn't want to participate much in RVR. On the other hand, you had stealthers who thought, hey, RVR, stealth, fabulous. Getting killed by a stealther no one enjoys, but a lot of players, as I said earlier, really hate getting killed by gang squads of stealthers, or even just multiple stealthers working together. Finally, easy on stealth. That's something that's generally mocked, as you folks know, in the community as being, again, easy mode. The idea that you could simply push a button, vanish in broad daylight, especially, in a world of fantasy, though, of course, one would argue magic versus tech, why not? But it is something that a lot of people don't like. So looking at all this, and these are only some of the problems, obviously, in any stealth implementation, looking at this was something that we had to do when we sat down here as a studio and talked about, a stealth implementation.
All right, so that gives you an idea of some of the things they're thinking about. A lot of stuff we already said. A couple things you brought up that I want to talk about. One is easy mode stealth. How do you guys think it is easy just pushing a button and automatically getting stealth? Also, groups of stealthers. How do you feel about groups? And he said that some stealthers don't want easy mode. Do you think that's true or not true? Or, some people just want to watch the world burn, right? Some people just want to one-shot everybody and grief and gank. But do you think in general people like stealth? Like Alistair, like you said, they like that kind of hunting mentality, but it's okay if it's not easy for them? And what do you guys think about all that? Velik is muted. Velik's saying some really good stuff, but we can't hear him at all.
I forgot to unmute myself during the video. I think that looking at the aspect of not having the one-button stealth, I think there's actually two aspects of that, both of which are possibly good. For the one, as people have been saying in chat, we were going back and forth in that on chat a little bit as well. No, I think most of us do not want to see, and we kind of already mentioned, we don't want to see someone in the middle of combat and they hit their stealth button and then they go boo and they disappear and we're like, I wanted to kill him, but you can do nothing to him now because he's in stealth. Maybe you can AoE him and knock him out of stealth, but probably not. He's probably gone. You're screwed. Yeah. Nothing you can do. Second thing that I actually just thought about while we were watching that video clip, I hadn't thought of before, is that could also mean you can't instantly stealth at any point. So, like, what if you're out, you're away from combat and you want to go into stealth, but maybe it has a cast time. Like, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I have to cast for 10 seconds to go into stealth or whatever it is. So you're like, I'm going into stealth. When you get ready to go into stealth, it takes you a little while. Maybe you're doing whatever you got to do to get into stealth. That way, if someone sees you going into stealth, they could be like, that guy's going into stealth. And they get their archers or whatever, and they shoot you and they kill you. Right. So you have to do it away from battle. You can't just be anywhere near the battle. You have to prepare and then go into your long-term stealth And
But then
that's okay,
you
too.
have to remove the timer on the stealth, because if you have to be away from battle to actually do it, most game have a pretty short timer on their stealth abilities. You can be stealth for maximum a minute. If you actually have to cast a spell that takes 10-15 seconds to actually go into stealth, then your stealth should last at least 5 minutes unless you start getting into combat.
I think it should be able to last longer than that, honestly. I like long-term
Yeah.
stealth. As long as the other problems are fixed, I have no problem with someone sitting in stealth for like 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
And
Yeah,
being
no
in
problem.
stealth.
There doesn't even have to be a timer. I think we want it to be balanced, because right now they can do everything. They get to initiate the fight. They get to do burst. They might have CC. And on top of all that, they can, if they're losing for whatever reason, they can just hop right out of there. I would like to see you have to make a choice. You get this option of you want to do high burst damage, okay, but now you don't have a good escape mechanic. You better hope you win and there's no one else trying to kill you. That's your choice. Or maybe you don't do as much damage, but you have an escape mechanic. So that's your play style. You go and do a little damage and you hop out real quick. And then you come, you know what I mean? Give us like an
scout
option.
side.
Right, like I get a pick. You know what I mean?
if you choose burst, you can't go back. You know,
Right,
and
you
if
lose that
choose-
mobility.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be cool. Or maybe you're more squishy and stuff. And
yeah, it's
both.
like you do a ton of damage, but when you get caught, you're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you're really mobile. You can stealth and move around the battlefield, but you don't do as much damage. I mean, there should be a trade-off. I'd like to see you be able to pick it. What do you guys think about... This was a problem in Dark Age of Camelot, is stealth groups. When you have an infinite stealth timer and it's pretty easy to get in stealth, you see this in like ESO as well. You'll get a group of like 20 people, they're sitting in stealth, this one guy is like, yay, I'm gonna go with my friends, and then boom, there's like 20 people, they shoot him all at once, they kill him, and then they instantly go back into stealth. I personally hate that. Like, I want a fair fight.
Yeah, I hate
Like,
that.
and I
I
understand
hate
it's
it,
a
but
war.
he shouldn't have been alone.
He should have been alone.
Yeah, he should have been alone. I agree, but
But
an
also-
army shouldn't. Yeah, an army shouldn't be able to disappear.
Right.
You know, like it's something that should be detectable in some way. So
It should at least
I mean,
take effort for them to have 50 people in stealth. I mean, it should be harder than everybody pushing one button, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it should be something like they can't move or something. You know, like. But I don't even think that should be a thing.
that many people in stealth, like the bushes should be rattling and birds should be something like.
You should see like if it's
There
like
should be signs.
if
There's
the
something going on
if
over
the
there.
stealth is veil based in this game, as he talks about. Then like so many people on stealth on the same place should disturb the veil, right? Just like they talked about
exactly.
magic disrupting the veil. If a bunch of people are casting magic on a big fight, then eventually there could be a veil storm over there, right? Because you're disrupting the veil by casting magic. So stealth could be considered something like that. You know, you have too many people on stealth together, they start to,
or a shimmer
like
around the area.
a shimmer. There's like lightning and dark stuff popping out, and like that you shouldn't go there because you're probably gonna get one shot.
Right.
So you're walking through the fields, and then you see something where it's like, okay.
Right.
And you go around it,
Yeah, the whole group stealth thing, honestly, is a thing where I actually kind of get the impression that with the stealth classes, they don't really want to turn them into the WoW rogue assassin mentality. They don't want them to go invisible, creep up on people, appear, and stab. I'm actually thinking they're maybe trying to go an entirely different route with them, and instead they're maybe using camouflage more for that aspect, where you can sneak up on somebody and kind of gank them. For instance, with archers, like I think archers are going to be the stealth assassin in this game, where an archer can use camouflage, conceal himself in an area, and wait to ambush somebody. He probably can't move around a lot, but he doesn't have to worry about the veil and all this kind of crap. Someone moves past and they're running by themselves, and then that one or a couple of archers that are rooted in that place get up and go, hey, you came in the wrong neighborhood.
Right. We do get some information. At least the idea. This is the idea they have. Before we jump in and watch that video, I just want to ask one other thing. We kind of hit on this when we talked about pets as well, and I think even though we like stealth, we definitely need to ask the same question. Is it worth the time, the development cost, the effort, the potential bugs and imbalance? Is it worth all of the potential problems when how many people play stealthers?
Actually,
There's
a
a
lot
lot of
more
people
than pet
who
classes.
You think a lot more
a
than pet
lot,
classes?
classes.
a
Really?
lot more
Yes.
than pet
A
classes.
lot more than pet classes?
It's
Yes.
totally worth more money than development
It's
time with
worth
pet
more
classes.
money.
And that's
I-
as somebody who actually kind of likes pets and doesn't mind pet classes so much. I'd rather see
I know
stealth.
it's
I
more
think stealth is more important.
controversial.
It is because
because
it
it's
is
more important.
controversial
Yeah.
because it's more important, and there's a lot more people playing that
a lot more people.
kind of
All
style.
right, I got to throw it out there. You got to stay
And
fair.
normally, if a class has stealth, it's kind of the core mechanic of the class. It
And
kind
I
of
guess-
eclipses everything else,
And I especially think that stealth, especially to the somewhat more old school hardcore gamers that they're trying to cater to, I think to more of them stealth appeals.
Especially
Stealth
in a
appeals to
PvP
more of them than it
RVR
does.
game. I mean,
Exactly.
and not just fighting and combat, but the fact that you can stealth and go scouting. And hey, there's a mine over here that we never would have got to, except the guy could stealth and get past all their sentries, and he saw what was going on in there. I mean, this is a lot bigger than maybe a pet class could be. Let's take a look, though. MJ starts talking a little bit about what we can expect to see, some ideas he has as far as the mechanics and what it'll look like here.
A term that plays such an important role in the lore of Camelot Unchained. When we first talked about it, there was some negative reaction. Oh, sounds kind of fluffy, maybe even a little trite. But as you guys have heard from last night, it's far more than a piece of interdimensional detritus. This is a living, sentient being. This is something that infuses our world with magic. It's in the depths. It is so important to this game and to the lore. Now, how to make that fit with stealth? And that's when the light bulb went on over the head of Wart. That's when I had this idea, hey, let's combine the two. Let's make stealth and the veil intertwined. So, what if we use the veil as a different world for stealthers? What if being in the veil allowed our stealthers to move both at normal speed and sometimes at heightened speed through it? What if the veil is this mechanism, this different dimension, this different world, this different body, where the stealthers could operate essentially on a slightly different plane of existence from the rest of the game? And what if, because they're in the veil is a little bit pissed off? I mean, after all, it's not had a good, few millennia. From the serious piercing that led to the destruction of our world to being in a situation it is now, it is not happy. On the other hand, it is also very powerful. So if we allow stealthers to operate inside the veil, that would present a lot of challenges to them. Because see, the veil, because it is living, has its own defenses, just as our body has its own defenses. And when you're in the veil, as a stealther, that's where the interesting part really begins. So,
all right, so using the veil, Alistair, you touched on a little bit. This is one of my favorite ideas ever. If anyone played Dark Age of Camelot, there was almost like two wars going on at the same time. You had all the people fighting and stuff like normal, but then below that, there was like this stealth war with all these stealthers like fighting each other. This is one of the coolest ideas. I can just imagine being in a battle and like knowing that in this other dimension, there's like, Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers fighting each other, and they could jump out of like a portal at any minute.
Does that mean that stealth people see each other if they're stealth at the same time because they're on this other dimension?
That would be amazing.
Like, so you need a stealth to see other stealth,
Yeah, I mean, they're in the veil. I picture it in my head as like you're in the regular world and you want to go into the veil. You're a Veil Walker. You use some ability, maybe it's like a 10-second cast like the Muted Velic, and you jump through like a portal or something, and you go and you're in the veil at this point. And it's like everybody who's in the veil can be in the veil. I kind of picture like Lord of the Rings when he puts on the ring and everything's like all kind of crazy.
Exactly.
And like
that's exactly what I
and like
pictured.
stuff you didn't see in the regular world you can see there now. And like he talks about. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's awesome. What do you guys think about
I
this?
love the idea, and as I said in chat, I like that you see more details of some things while you're in the veil, like the other stealthers,
Right.
the other Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers. You can see them, but the normal world, you can only see auras. For example, buildings are just black areas. You know you can't go through them. So you like blocks. People have auras, maybe different color of auras depending on the classes, even not necessarily, but just auras, not the details. And everything moves at a different speed inside the veil. For example, maybe one way or the other, the veil moves faster while you're inside and the outside moves slower, or the other way around. But
That
a
is hard
real
to do on
difference.
online games, though.
Yes, that's the problem. But
So-
a real difference, but not seeing all the details of the normal world while you're in the veil, but seeing other things, that would be really cool.
I think it'd be awesome. And he talks about how people don't. We talked about this ourselves. Stealthers feel cheap because it's so easy for them. They push one button, they're stealth, but push one button, they do a ton of damage. This right here is like, if you know a stealther has to go through all this trouble through the veil, like he talks about how the veil can attack
And he has
them.
to, dodge other stealthers on the veil,
Right.
so he can actually be stealth. So if you're fighting another team that has a bunch of stealth, so stealth wouldn't be just an offensive thing. You would want a couple of stealthers around your healers too, to spot whenever stealthers are coming for them. So you could like leave one or two people with the healers. Just kind of stealthing around over there, and then send others to the enemy healers. And it, like you said, there's this parallel fight going on,
Right.
only between the stealthers that are in the veil,
I mean,
and around the actual fight, and that's a cool concept.
I don't.
like-
This gives me like nerdgasms, right? I mean, it's so exciting because you
Yeah.
would like imagine you're that guy, you're the stealther, right? And no one can see what you see, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, like around the corner, you're seeing like 20 other stealthers coming. You're like, guys, they're coming to kill us. Like no one else can see what you see. It's like they're gonna kill us
Yep.
all. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like watching Aliens, and they get the
Right.
motion detectors. Beep 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 beep.
Exactly.
It's just the kind
They're
of thing
within
that
5
gives you the
meters.
creeps.
They're within 5 meters.
I know, and it's so many cool things that it adds to it. And I mean, he talks about the veil is like a living being, right? Like you go in there, it's not a happy place. It's not just an easy walk through the park. Even if there's no other players to kill you, just being in that environment, it doesn't want you there. It could kill you, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Veil
that
monsters.
I think is one of the main things that I like about this, because they can use the veil as an instrument to kind of
Balance.
not
it,
necessarily
kind
force, but to balance the parts that they don't want. Like with groups of stealthers together, they can try to discourage that by adding increased penalties according to the number of stealthers. So if there's one stealther
veil
there,
monsters.
maybe
Yeah.
you're just got a penalty to some stats, or maybe eventually you get attacked by things, or you take
so you don't want to.
but
So
maybe
you don't want to
it's
bring.
stealthers.
Right.
Sorry, yeah, and that would discourage people from only bringing stealthers into their group.
Yes.
Like, okay, we have 10 stealthers, that's good enough, right? Let's get something else, because at that point you have 10 stealthers already. They are, if you bring more, they're going to harm the work of those other 10, because then it's going to be easier to detect them. They're going to make a bigger mess, maybe bring a veil storm, and I think something that is cool is instead of having a timer on stealth. Like, there could be a timer, but this timer could be big, like, Velik was saying, 10, 15 minutes. But then you have a 30-second timer where the stealther he's invisible for everybody, and he's invisible in the veil as well, because it's kind of in between, right? But after 30 seconds being on stealth, then other stealthers start seeing him in the veil. So basically, he's still invisible for everybody else, but if he tries to approach another stealth, he's going to see him, because he's now merging into the veil. So he's getting visible in the veil,
Right.
And then, so that would not allow people who have been on stealth for minutes to just approach another stealther without being seen, or approach a healer that is being protected by a stealther without being seen, because in the veil, they are visible already, because they have been on stealth for too long. Even though in the real world, normal class cannot see them, other stealthers can,
There kind of is a timer already, because he talks about how the longer you're in there, like the veil is combating you. So you can hop in,
Yes.
but if you're in there a long time, it's going to take a toll on you. You're going to lose stamina. You're going to lose health or something too. So you can't just sit in there forever. You need to jump out and do something, which makes me think, like, what if you jump out and you're fighting people? It's not an easy retreat mechanic. We talked about how we hated that. You push a button and you're out of there. Who knows how long it takes to get into the veil?
What is the name of that blue guy on X-Men that teleports? I'm thinking of him all the time. Nightcrawler.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Nightcrawler without the teleport, right?
Like,
I mean,
how long does
you
it
go
take to
through
get into
another
the veil?
dimension.
And like, what if you're low on life and you hop in the veil, and then the other players didn't kill you, but you're low on life, you went in the veil, and they killed you in the veil. You know what I mean? It fixes a lot of those problems that we hated with that easy retreat.
I'm not a big fan of the actual stats penalty. I'm more interested, like when you put on the ring, you become a beacon
Right.
for veil creatures. The more you don't have a timer on your veil walking, but the more you're in there, the more you draw veiled creatures to you. So you have to move to actually avoid being attacked by those creatures.
Maybe
That
the
means
Pascal
they
should
walk.
be a stealth detector.
Yeah,
Right. There you go.
but veil walkers cannot stay in the veil to mount ambushes for a long time. You can't camp an area, being in the veil, and just pop out. And also, during big battles, mages call on the veil to use their magic. It should draw veil creatures as well. So while you're veil walking to go to a big battle, it's okay. But if you're using that retreat, you're going back into the veil full of monsters.
Right. You pop in and there's all these monsters waiting for
Exactly.
you. Right.
Exactly. So that's also one of the. I'm more interested in that kind of thing than. It's probably harder to do. So they're probably gonna hop for the stats penalty, but that would be really cool because that's a whole other world with other rules that makes veil walking really interesting.
What about?
And it makes it harder. Yeah, it makes it not exploitable. Yeah.
What I was thinking was actually a combination. Like, I like the idea of them being attacked by monsters, but that's why I mentioned, maybe this or maybe that. Like, maybe if you've been in the veil for 10 minutes, you take some kind of a minor stat penalty or a speed penalty or something. Maybe if you've been in there for 30 minutes, you get at some point you get attacked by a little mob or something. The longer you're in there, maybe you start to take a little bit of damage. Maybe you get progressively weaker. You may
30 minutes is a long time.
You may not keep taking stat penalties. I'm just saying, like, maybe the longer you're in there, different effects start to happen.
Right.
More mobs start to come to you, and then I still don't like the idea of them just hot invisible, one button invisible in the middle of a fight, even if it makes them pop into a bunch of mobs. Because then that's just having the AI kill them instead of having the player kill them. I think the player would still rather be able to kill them.
Mobs have to be very carefully used in PvP. We just talked about that on the Path Class thing. So it's, the satisfaction of PvP is killing other players, right? So if we have mobs or NPCs killing other players, it's kind of, I agree with Valak, it's just kind of BS. So
it becomes PvE. Yeah.
I
like
should be
the idea
something
of
that the
monsters,
mobs take you out of stealth. They don't kill you, right? So
I like the
you
monsters,
get into
it's just a matter of
stealth,
how
the
they're
mobs hit you, and you're out. Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you, what do you guys think about this? Chris, you were talking about how the casters can draw upon the veil. And one of our problems everybody hated was how this giant burst damage that kind of took away gameplay, right? We want more gameplay. What if a veil walker, instead of, because we're going to have different ways we can spec our character. What if one of them is, instead of tons of damage, maybe you manipulate the veil while you're in the veil? So I'm sitting in the veil, and Chris is trying to cast a spell, and I manipulate the veil so it backfires. It backfires on you, or I draw all the power out of it, so your spell fizzles out because there's no more power there. Or manipulating.
That's actually a nice idea,
right? That could be some cool.
Yeah, but when you do that, you lose stealth time, right? Because you're screwing up with the veil, right? So maybe you do that, you break stealth.
Or it shows in the normal
It shows
world.
you're there,
It shows somebody's messing up with the magic in that area, so other people can actually.
Just like a grounding totem, you pop the totem, and then the guy's like, fireball!
Everybody knows you're there.
Right. It flies towards some random stuff, and they're like, what is this? There's a stealth there drawing my spell.
I can picture like a silhouette of someone when like lightning strikes and like you see it, and it's like, that guy is in the veil right there messing with us. Somebody go get him, and it's like, there's so many cool things. He even talks about how a lot of people hate moving slower as a stealther, and in this sort of scenario, you don't even have to move slower. You could even move faster because it adds. I mean, this is totally different. I mean, is there any game that does something like this? I mean,
I don't think so.
Right?
Normally stealth is just, press a button, you're in stealth, and that's it. And then you have abilities you can use on stealth, abilities you can't, and that's it,
Yeah.
But I think Camelot Unchained has a chance to go beyond
that
it.
Has anything approaching that, even slightly, it's the Secret World, where you can die, and once you're dead, you're actually in the outer world. So you see other things. You have other monsters, and you have other mechanics. It's very limited because it's for a few quests only, but you can stay in there. But yeah, when you die, you are still in the same world, but like another dimension. So everything is in black and white. Monsters are different, and the whole thing is really creepy.
Right, that's what they're going for. They're going for creepy. We can check it out. There's one more piece of video I want to show, and then we can really dive in. He gives us a lot of kind of ideas about how the veil works. It's about 3, almost 4 minutes long. It's a long piece of video, but he really kind of gets into the nitty gritty here of how he thinks it's all going to work out.
The challenge became, how can we implement the system using both the veil and stealth so our players could hunt solo, while at the same time discouraging gank groups, but also allow them, if they chose, to engage in RVR and be very useful in RVR other than just hunting individuals. To make this work, I thought of the concept of veil walkers and veil stalkers. As the name suggests, a veil walker is a player who can, walk through the veil. Within the veil, they get new powers, new abilities. They can do things that they can't do in the real world. But it is a different world. It isn't an exact clone of our world. And that's part of the BSC idea. That here we are trying to make a game on one dimension, and now I'm also adding another dimension, and maybe even other dimensions beyond that. The walker walks through the world. He can walk through at normal speed. He can walk through at heightened speed. The walker, he can also learn to harness the defenses of the veil, use them for his own, purposes. The veil walker is dangerous within the veil. Outside the veil, not as much. Inside the veil, deadly. The challenge, how do you keep this class balanced? How do you make this walker something other than OP? Well, to begin with, within the veil fights back. I've already talked about how it is a sentient being. So think of its defenses much like, for those who saw the old 1960s film Fantastic Voyage, where the antibodies attack the sub and attack anyone outside. That's one way the veil can fight back. The veil can also fight back through the use of spirits. If you die within the veil, you can become, or your spirit can become, an NPC. You don't die, it's not permadeath, we do have the immortal bit, but part of you is left behind, and you have to deal with that. Also, being in the veil does take a toll on you. The longer you're in the veil, the worse that toll can be. This is not a way to get around long duration. Don't worry, you can be in there for a while. But if you think you can just go into the veil and sit somewhere for a couple hours, make a sandwich, everything's okay, that's really not how it's going to work. And that's only one part of the challenge for those who walk within the veil. Within the veil, again, very powerful, but the veil is pissed. And the longer you stay in the veil, or more walkers that also come in the veil, the more angry it gets, especially when those walkers stay close to each other. So if you're thinking about, I'm going to use this veil and we can form our group and we'll go in there and we'll work together and be really close to each other, while we do things, it can't work that way. Being close to other stealthers, especially stealthers within your own realm, makes the veil even angrier. So, is it possible you could get together a group and actually be powerful enough to fight off the veil's defenses for a while? Maybe, but it will come at a pretty high price. And frankly, there are other things hunting you besides the veil. So the walkers and the stalkers, you're two sides of the same coin, just like the veil has two sides. And I will talk more about the walkers and the stalkers in future updates, but stalkers, don't worry. Your mechanics have to be interesting as well, because without you there, then the stalkers run, roughshod. So, nowhere.
I want this in the game. I want this is I think it'd be amazing. I think it'd be great. He talks a lot about the Veil Walkers. Right at the very end there, he says, Stalkers will have some cool stuff for you too. Wait around and we'll tell you more about it. I don't know how much it's fleshed out. I think it's awesome. I mean, so much stuff here.
Indeed.
Would you guys play a Veil Walker or Veil Stalker, do you think?
With those mechanics, yes, I think I would.
Absolutely. I mean, I really loved hunting stealthers on my Vampire. And
when I was seeing some of the art that he showed in the video there, I was thinking, man, if this was an Asian game, the penalty for being in the Veil would be tentacles for sure.
Oh, jeez. Right. Well, that's one interesting thing he talks about is how if you die in the Veil, you could potentially lose little pieces of your soul. Maybe you don't completely die, but maybe that makes you weaker or something. You have to go back in and like get them back or something. Lots of interesting things. Gaining new powers and abilities. The defenses of the Veil. Chris, you said that you would maybe play one. I know you're big into crafting as well, and you'd have to have two different classes. But what do you think?
Yes.
Why would you want to play one of these classes?
Because of the added gameplay, the different. Most of the other classes, even if they go for different concepts for all classes, I'm not a huge magic fan, so I doubt I'll ever play a caster. I like archers a lot. I like the idea of it, but the completely different concepts of Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers really talks to me. The whole other dimension, other world with other rules that also impacts the normal world. That really something that, for me, give me some nerdgasm.
Right, exactly.
Definitely.
Velik, how do you feel about this whole thing? I mean, I know you had lots of notes. I mean, I don't want to miss.
Yeah. For everyone that's not in the know, I totally left my notes at work, so that's why he keeps mentioning them. But yeah, I really like the idea. I don't know that I would play one as like a main character because I usually don't play a stealth character. It would really depend on how it works out, how the classes look like they're building up. If they look really interesting, like I could see this being interesting and being something I would want to play, maybe as a secondary character, but even possibly as a main character, depending on how they set it up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If there's a Veil caster, I would play it. Like if it's a stealther, but it's a caster too.
Right.
It's not like a rogue type of caster.
So much OP.
Because we always think about
not a rogue
stealthers.
Type of stealther. Yeah,
but it totally
could be a
be.
stealther mage kind of style. So you're squishy. You have all the prerequisites. The only difference is you have some ranged, but they could give you mid-range stuff. So it's not OP, right? So you're like pop out of stealth 30 yards away and shoot somebody. That's kind of crappy. But like if it was 10 yards or something where it's like mid-range and you.
There's 3 different realms, and usually the way it worked in Dark Age of Camelot is it kind of shifted. It's not like every stealther was a dagger wielder. They'll be different. You could have a stealth healer, right? Maybe you go in the Veil where everybody else can't see you, but you emanate healing from the Veil. So you could be like in melee range healing your people, but the other side can't see you and kill you because you're in the Veil. Or
as he said in the video,
that should be very temporary though.
But you can harness the defenses of the Veil. Mm-hmm. Maybe actually attacking during a siege, attacking the keep from the Veil. Since, as I said, I like the idea of having a reflection of the physical object in the Veil.
Right.
Doing some Veil damage, maybe reduce damage, but actually maybe weakening, adding some sensitivity to some spells to increase the damage other people in the normal world do to the keep by manipulating the Veil. So that could be also something that could be really fun to do.
Kind of like Alistair, I was really thinking that maybe that I kind of feel like what they're trying to do, rather than the WoW style rogue where you jump out and you stab somebody and they die, I really kind of feel like they're almost trying to go with the Veil Walkers as more of like a stealth mage concept where you're not necessarily in the veil shooting fireballs at people, but maybe you sneak through the veil, you sneak over to the enemies, and you have some sort of effects that do affect them. Maybe you can mess with their spells, maybe you can cause penalties to some of them, maybe you can do some sort of damage to them from the veil, and maybe there are some builds that can pop out of stealth and then do damage, but I actually feel like they're trying to do something different than the normal assassin appear, stab concept. And then you also have the Veil Stalkers that go in there and hunt those people down and go, you're not going to go mess with my people. I'm going to come up behind you. I'm the assassin. I have the knife, and I stab you while you're trying to be sneaky.
It could be different builds from the same class even. You know, you could have a build for a more classic assassin stealth class, or you could have a build for more of a debuffer class, that doesn't have burst but uses the veil to sneak around and just debuff the enemies to improve the odds of, it's not a main DPS, it's more of a support class, so there are a lot of concepts there.
With the Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers, what we see as the WoW type rogue will be the archer with the camouflage, and Veil Walkers and Veil Stalker would be a completely different type of gameplay that is like a dual world fighting and playing, more than actually just stealth, backstab, and re-stealth. That's going to be the camo and ambush will probably be more, and scouting would be more the archers' skills, more than the Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers, I think.
One thing that we've talked about, and Mark talked about in the video, is trying to combat groups of people being in stealth and just ganging up on people, because that takes away gameplay, takes away the fun. But what about all the people who like that? They have a group of 3 friends or 5 friends or a guild of 20 people, and they make a stealth guild and they go out and they play this way. Do you think this hurts that game style? Because he said if you have a bunch of people together in the Veil together, that's really difficult to maintain that. Do you think you could still play that way and it just forces you to spread out more? Or is it going to be like, hey, sorry, we already have 5 stealthers. We can't have any more in our group because it's too many. We can't play with our other 5 friends that want to be stealthers. I mean,
I think it's really going to try to encourage every stealther to move solo. I think people will be able to get into small groups for short spans of times, but I think for the most part, it's not even going to be we have 5 stealthers, we're capped out. I think it's literally going to be, stay away from me. I'm over here doing my thing, dude. You go over there.
Yeah.
Right, which could add a lot of strategy.
Because you have different tools, so you're more efficient doing different stuff, right? So that's the whole concept. But yeah, I mean, and I don't have a problem with that. We have 5 of this. We don't want to bring any more. That's part of the game, and I think World of Warcraft tried to move away from that and kind of screw themselves over by making every class pretty much the same. They removed class differences with the whole philosophy of bring the player, not the class, which is a PvE concept. They didn't want people. Oh, we need a shaman in our raid, so they didn't want that. But that's a PvE concept. In PvP, that's nice to have. It's nice for the group composition to matter. It should matter. If you have a more well-built group, you have more chances of winning. You have more strategy possibilities. You have more defenses, less weak spots. All of that is important, and it should be. Choices matter, right? So if you want to bring 10 of the same class, you bring 10 of the same class. It's going to be great for doing X. It's going to suck for doing Y. So if you want to do a strategy like this, and that, you don't have power to do it because you brought a bunch of the same class. But if you want to do whatever those classes are strong in, then you're good. So that is important and should be in the game. So I don't think stealth should be immune to it. Stealth should be something that okay, we have a bunch of stealth guys over here. We need more melee for the front lines. We need a few more healers. We need buffers and supports and stuff. Whatever it is, because
you need strength and weaknesses.
Yeah,
on
you
each
need
class.
to balance your group, and I'm not against group compositions being very important. I'm not saying they should completely define the combat, because that would screw over small groups. But they should be important in big fights, especially siege. Where you're sieging, you have room for 50 people, so you can bring 5 of each almost. So I mean, that kind of stuff should definitely be there.
Right.
And I'm fine with having smaller gang squads that have disadvantages for being in stealth, of being in the Veil, but they can still gather. And it's a type of gameplay. As long as it's not overpowered and it has its weaknesses and its disadvantages, I'm okay with gang squads. That's one of the type of gameplay, and you shouldn't move around in a contested area solo. That's your risks. You're taking risks. You have to assume the consequences as well. Choices matter.
This system kind of helps that, though, because in most games, you go in stealth and you can sit there for 2 hours as long as you want, and then someone comes along and you're ready to go. In this kind of system, if someone jumps out at you from stealth, but they've been waiting for you for 20 or 30 minutes, they may be so weak, even though there's 2 or 3 of them, you can still beat them because they've been in the Veil so long.
Exactly.
So,
or they might not even be able to, maybe the monsters of the Veil will pop them off, get out of here, kick them out of the stealth. And,
we got lots of information about the Veil Walker. Right at the end, he talks about stalkers having interesting mechanics and being 2 sides of the same coin. Real quick, I want to ask you guys, what kind of ideas do you think that they could have that would work similar but be different? I think it'd be cool if they could pull people out of the Veil, right? You're in the middle of this battlefield and you think you're stealthy, and then they suck you out of it, right? And it's like, boom, how do you think this would work as a counter to that, this Veil Stalker?
That's actually a better
they could
idea
have
than what I was thinking.
limited they could have limited access to the Veil, but their job would be to actually hunt people that are in the Veil without being in there. So having the ability, like people in the Veil could see the auras of people outside of the Veil, they could see the auras of the people inside the Veil and pull them from them, or actually draw monsters to them if there are monsters in the Veil.
Or they could see that aura and attach themselves to it. And,
exactly.
It draws them in.
Exactly. Or just increase the Veil defenses attack on them, weakening them even more.
I would like to see both of them in the Veil itself. I would like to see both of them in the Veil. One intended to attack people outside the Veil, where the other one is intended to go into the Veil, hunt them down, and kill those other people. Just because I like the imagery of both of them moving around in some kind of a shadowy Veil type realm,
wars.
And they're both sneaking around each other in this weird kind of stealth game that I think would be really cool.
Yeah, and someone said it in chat a while ago, is how do you bring that stealth game into being a part of the overall RVR game as well? Because even MJ said how a lot of people in Dark Age Camelot kind of wanted to solo and go do their own thing, and they were interested in being a part of this kind of big fight. Do you think this helps with that, having the Veil mechanic? Is that going to encourage people to be a part of the big fight? I think so, because it's where you can find people. If you're in the Veil in the middle of nowhere, how are you ever going to find anybody? You know what I mean?
Yes, but also Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers need at least partly a role in sieges, in keep sieges, in massive battles and sieges, because it is part of the game. It will be a big part of the game because it's where you will be able to take control of the islands. So if they don't have any part in that kind of gameplay, that cuts them from a big part of the game. So they have to have some way of being useful in siege battles also.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking of is, of course they could sneak into keeps and maybe disable certain things or mess with resources or something. But also, what if there's a build that's kind of like a sapper? They can sneak up to the keep, maybe plant some sort of a veil device or a spell or something on the wall to blow a freaking hole in it. I mean, they could just go in there and be like, we're going to do this.
Kind of
like in PlanetSide 1 and PlanetSide 2, the stealth people in there could walk around with C4 block, sneak up behind you, slap it on your back, and then run away going,
you could actually even make your quad stealth with C4 on it and just park your quad next to a tank and blow the tank. You kill yourself as well because you have the C4 on you, but you still blow a freaking tank.
Right.
And nobody sees you.
There's a ton of ideas, lots of awesome stuff. I mean, this is a video that they put out, a year and a few months ago. More than that, 2 years ago. 2 years and 2 months. they've had all these ideas and things that they've been brewing and thinking about. They haven't officially said that stealth is going to be in the game. I don't know if they're putting it in and we just don't know it. If it's going to be a stretch goal, if it's going to be an expansion after the game, we don't know. But they put a lot of idea into it, and I think it's a great mechanic. I would be super excited. I want to play that. I hope they put it in. I definitely want to see it. What are your guys' last thoughts, final comments on stealth from what we know and what you think or what you hope it's going to be so far from what we got? Alistair,
I don't know. Stealth, please don't fuck up. You know, like don't destroy
That
it. Don't
sums it
make
up
it
pretty well.
don't make it something that will destroy the game. You know, that's
Right.
all I want to see. And I think, you know, you can see it from MJ's video. He was worried about it. You know, he talks about it. On the first segment we saw, he's like, yeah, I like stealth. It's cool, but it brings a bunch of problems, and it really does. So to fix them, you got to really pay attention, really think this through, and more importantly, you got to test. You got to test a lot. You know,
Yes.
test. Give it to players. Let them test it on Siege. Let them test it. You know, like anything else, it's combat. If it's not tested, you know, you can't possibly foresee every consequence of a mechanic you put in the game. You can foresee some of the immediate consequences, but you cannot foresee all of them. So testing is fundamental, so that we have time to really, especially if it's, you know, if they implement any of those crazy mechanics we've been brainstorming for the past hour. You know, it's all new stuff, new concepts, things that other games haven't done. So you don't know all the implications that they have. So testing is fundamental. And, you know, if it's going to be there, awesome. I don't have a problem with being in the game, but it has to be done right. Otherwise, you know, it reduces all the combat to, you know, yeah, you're stealth, you're OP, and everybody who didn't choose a stealth is going to be wishing they did. You know, that's a terrible feeling. It leads people to stop playing the game. So that's
I
my
think the
worry.
game is going to be awesome with stealth almost no matter how they do it. I mean, it can't possibly be worse than some of the other games that have stealth. And even if it was like crappy WoW style stealth, I still think the game's better with it than it is without it. So
Velik is a fan. Alistair says, don't F it up. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Alistair on that. Just don't fuck it up because it will be a big part of the game. I really love the ideas they have. I like the ideas, as I said, that the archers will be more of the assassin, rogue type, scout type, and that the Veil Walkers and Veil Stalkers will be like kind of like a shadow war inside the war.
Yeah.
Two battlefields, two parallel ones, two battles at the same times, with different mechanics. And I really hope that they put that in the game and that it is at launch, because I think it will draw. If it is that BSC, the concept that we've seen, it will draw a lot of people to the game also.
I agree. I think it would be an awesome mechanic. And Velik, I agree with you. It's going to be good either way, I think, for the game. Unless it's totally broken and they F it up, I think it's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. I sure hope that it's in there. If it's a stretch goal, it's one of the first stretch goals I'd really be excited about and like really put money towards, because it's something I'm personally interested in.
Yes.
So we're all excited for it. Looking forward to any more information we get, hopefully as soon as possible. Alistair, thanks so much for joining us. You can check Alistair out at legendgaming.net. Apply to the guild, Ordo Veritas. He is there. Chris, Realms Unchained.
Yep.
Check it out there.
We could use a lot more people posting on the forums, and it's open to non-backers. It's open to non-backers.
Yeah, everybody can
if
talk
you don't
on there.
if you haven't backed the game, come join us. Come talk about the game, and we
Ask
would love to
questions.
share any information that we actually can share. Not everybody can be. Not everything can be shared, but everything that we can share, we try to do it on Realms Unchained. So come check it out.
tell your friends, tell your wife.
Right. And you can catch Velik on Twitter at /Xenoduck. I'm Ziz. You can catch me on YouTube at @Ziz. Thanks so much for watching. We will be back in 2 weeks. Every other week, we live stream on twitch.tv/itziz at 3 p.m. Eastern. Come check us out next week or watch on YouTube. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.